What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. And I've been wanting an LPVO for some time. So that is a low power variable optic where I can go from like 1 to 6, 1 to 8, or even 1 to 10. Now, of course, I was looking around at some of the names out there. You got Vortex, you have Leupold, you have Night Force, you've got kinds of different companies that make these things, and they range from $200, $300, $400 all the way up to like $3,000, $4,000, depending on the brand that you want to go with and how many contracts that company has with the military. It comes in right at about that $450 mark, and that was a price point that I could live with because it came with some pretty good stuff that some of the others didn't, even though I did have to get a different mount for it, which they did provide as well. There are a couple of things that generally plague lower priced optics in this class, and that is generally going to be the clarity of the glass, clarity of the reticle, eye relief, and kind of the hewing. So as you're looking through this and you take a good look down range, depending on your eye relief, kind of the clouding around the edges and how quickly that occurs at what distance your eye is from that optic. Now, when you get into those really high priced optics, it is super clear, super crisp, and everything is great. Once you start getting into kind of these more budget friendly ones, the glass can suffer. The BDC reticle on this Arrowhead is set at that 5200 for 5.56 and 308. They have a couple of graphics on their website, which I'll throw up here throughout the video, that show you how to use it for not only ranging, but your drop compensation depending on your distance and depending on what caliber you're using. Now, the scope is set at a 100-yard parallax setting. So parallax can get a little bit interesting. This one is set at a constant for 100 yards. So in all, it's very nicely laid out. You have your elevation on top, of course, your windage on the side, and then your brightness settings for your illuminated reticle on the left. You do have 12 settings on there, 2 night vision, and then in between each setting is an off station. So you can literally go from 0 to 12 instantaneously if you know you're going to be operating in the daytime. You don't have to flip it all the way forward or all the way backwards. That may or may not be something you're interested in, but I thought it was definitely a nice option. It also comes with a switch throw lever so you can quickly get to that maximum magnification, and some don't. The choice of scope rings is going to be up to you. They sent me out their hostile engagement rings, and this is the tall set. Reason I got the tall set is because I'm a little longer, and as I'm behind this, I want to be able to quickly come up and be in position without having to move my head anywhere if I'm in an engagement scenario. So of course, once I got it on here, set it up, torqued it, Loctited it, had to head out to the range for that 0. Now, generally on an optic that's of a quality name, the zeroing process is going to be pretty easy. And at 50 yards, I was pretty much right on. Needed very minimal adjustments to get me where I was happy with, being that I was trying to zero at an extreme angle laying in the bed of my pickup truck. Once I was all zeroed on the magnification setting of 10, because you want to zero on the highest power setting, I went ahead and did a quick confirmation on this Kingslayer, made a quick adjustment, and then of course I wanted to run some of those transitions. Now, it definitely wasn't perfect on those. Like I said, it's been a long time since I've used an LPVO. And the one thing I will say about this, even though I do like the fact that you can put the Kingslayer on here, it's a little bit different than some of the nicer mounts where you can just tilt it to the side. You do have to come off and above the optic a little bit to get on target if you are doing a transition with that Kingslayer and RMR or whatever RMR footprint optic you have on there as a backup. We're going to go ahead and get into this thing so you can check the specs out, see it up close, and see if it's maybe something you are interested in. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel, bust your LPVO out, and send one down range for that bell icon down there. All right, let's go ahead and get into this Arrowhead by Swampfox here, and I'll go ahead and show you the box and what comes in it, and then we'll get this thing out of the way. General box, I know you don't care. You get a nice little cloth in there. It's a pretty large one. I want to say it's like 8 by 10 almost. Get your manual in there, which explains everything about the optic and the reticle. You get their tool, which is actually pretty dang nice. You will get a small Allen head and screws for the throw lever, which is included, which is nice because some don't come with that. And then you put that in whatever place you so desire on that magnification ring right there. So let's go ahead and get into the specs here on this bad boy. And I'm going to read these directly from the website and just give you the ones you're probably going to be most interested in. So 50,000 round warranty, which I guess effectively is pretty much a lifetime warranty when you think about it. Can withstand 1100 Gs, IPX7 rated. Weight on this bad boy without the rings or the Swampfox Kingslayer is 20.36 ounces. Not terrible. Overall length is 10.91, and this is a 1 to 10 by 24. So obviously the 24 is your objective tube, and then 1 to 10 is your power rating on this via help by the throw lever. You can go from 1 to 10 very, very quickly. You got a push-pull locking turrets on this one, so you just pull up, you can make an adjustment, push back down, and they do lock in place. A little bit of movement on them, but that's going to be normal, not overly loose or anything like that. Max 10, you have a BDC reticle on this one, so they call it the Gorilla BDC, that is Gorilla BDC. It's pretty cool, I like the look of it, and I went with that over the MOA. So as far as our brightness setting knob here on the what would be the shooter's left-hand side, you can see there are a couple of night vision settings, and then you have 1 to 12. So it's a total of 12 to night vision, and then in between you'll see a blank dot right there. Now what that effectively lets you do is go between the setting and off. So if you want to be, you're going to be in daylight and you want to go from 0 to 12, you can set that way for you, so it's just one click and you don't have to spin that dial all the way up. It does take one 2032 battery in there, and this is your cap right here. For that battery, it does come with it from the factory. Not bad, those batteries are fairly cheap. The lenses are fully multi-coated, anti-fog, hydrophobic coating, all that good stuff. Comes with the lens caps here. They're okay. They're pretty loose. They've already loosened up on me because I left this thing out in the sun and it pretty much killed those lens caps on day one, but it does come with it. I'll probably just take them off from now on. Got a max windage and elevation adjustment of 100 MOA, and it's a half MOA adjustment per click. So some optics are going to have a quarter, some half, and that's what this one is. So field of view at 100 yards, about 115.6. So that's not bad for an optic in this class. And then of course, what a lot of people are going to be concerned about is that eye relief. So where does your eye have to be in the back side of this? So that is going to be 3.46 to 3.54. I can say it's pretty generous being behind here, and I will kind of show that up in the chair. So those are the basic specs of it. Kind of let's get down to now my feelings on it. It's nice. It's a little bit heavy, but for an optic in this price point, we're not going to get the lightest and most durable thing in the world. Not a huge fan of those caps, like I said. You can see just how loose that rear one there is. It's nice that we do get that throw lever on there. Very, very nice adjustment here. It's not overly stiff and it's not loose. It's right in that firm position that we need to quickly move this and adjust. So the hostile engagement rings, I wanted to try those out. They're a little taller, and I like that because I'm a little bit of a taller guy, and I don't want to have to duck my head down when trying to use an LPVO on transitions or anything. So they are good. They do have mounting points both forward and the rear set, both sides, doesn't matter how you put these on, for an RMR type optic. I will say, in comparison to some other mounts that you can mount across the pick rail, either forward or wherever, it's a little bit off. So you have to kind of reposition your head. If you're looking down this and you're looking through the optic, you can't just do that straight kind of transition. You have to lift your head off. So it's not like some of the other mounts where you can be looking through like this and then just turn your weapon to the side and you got a straight view of it. That's just not how these work, but they are good, they're solid, and it saves you having to buy 2 different mounts. You can just have it on there. Just takes a little bit of training. One thing I did notice when doing the 0, you can see right there, you see the red dot. Get that to focus in a little bit for you, and then you see the white dot on there. So the turret is just a tiny bit off, so it's not perfectly in line. I did notice that, and I couldn't get the cap on perfectly. Not the biggest thing in the world, but it was something that I noticed. So you use that tool, you unscrew the cap right here, and you can make your adjustments. I'll take this off real quick. Okay, loosen that up real quick, and I will show you guys what we got. So basically what you do is you unscrew that. You can make your adjustments in there. There's a little O-ring in there, which you can lose this very easily. Trust me, I had to dig it out of the dirt. So you go ahead, you make your adjustments, you zero it in, you pull this all the way off, and then you return that to 0. And there you can actually see the little arrow on the turret right there. And you want to get that right back down as close to that 0 mark as possible. And that's what's going to ensure that you are on point. And like I said, it doesn't go perfectly in line, so it's just a tiny bit off. Okay, go ahead and you throw this back on and just put this a little bit over finger tight. It is water sealed, but you know, a little bit more than that. So you can see, just doesn't quite line up 100% perfectly, but not bad at all. I'm going to go ahead and try and give you a view of the actual reticle here, and this is always a pain in the butt. I will do my best for you guys. I have to kind of hit it in the corner of the screen. So I know I'm doing this by hand. This might be a pain in the butt for you guys to see. But you can see the clarity of the reticle right there. So I'll do the best I can to get you guys a good view of this in here. So you can kind of see the reticle right there, and it's very clear. It actually is quite clear for what it is. I know on camera this does not show up the best, but you can just go one click in between. You can turn off the actual illumination. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, it was too much of a pain in the butt to try and show that to you on the 10th power. So overall, pretty solid optic here for what we are paying for it. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the good, some of the bad, what I think about running drills for this, and what else I think could be in store for this optic. So in all, I think this is a pretty dang good optic for the price point. It's zeroed easy, the glass is good, the reticle's good, brightness settings are great, and I kind of prefer sometimes that second focal plane. So if you don't know the difference between second and first focal plane, second is basically what I call simple. It's the same at all times, simple, same. And first focal plane is that fancy one where it gets bigger with magnification. Some people like one over the other, and there are places to use one over the other. Me, for something like this, I kind of prefer that second focal plane. I found it to have a really generous eye relief. So the eye relief, if you don't know, is basically as you bring the rifle up, where your head and eye needs to be in correlation to that scope to get the best field of view. So I found for me, being right here, it's got a really good relief. You can see how far I can move my head in and out and still get really good visual clarity through that optic. There is an optimal place you really want to be, and that comes with just training and doing your ready up drills. But there's a pretty good amount of varying distance in there that I found that was very usable out there on the range. So what are the positives and negatives when it comes to this Swampfox Arrowhead? Because not everything's always going to be all good. Like I said, new company. We don't know what to expect from them, although I am fairly impressed for the price point of this Arrowhead at this time. My one buzzkill on this one is these caps just aren't very good, especially in the Arizona heat out here. The rear one pretty much just doesn't work at all. It barely stays closed. And I didn't know to expect a whole lot more than that, being that they're free, they came with it, and kind of the price where this is at. Generally, I probably wouldn't even leave them on there unless I was transporting this thing or doing something with it, but they're definitely not the highest quality caps. That turret marking in there being a little bit off kind of bugged me, and it was only on the elevation, so the windage adjustment was dead on. I even had my buddy check it, and he was like, nope, it's just off. So a little bit of a buzzkill there, but not the biggest thing in the world either. Those O-rings, I know it's really tough to kind of affix those in there, but those things were super easy to lose. It's almost like there wasn't enough bite kind of around the depression they were in to keep them in there without them coming off. Now on that positive side, you have generous eye relief, generous field of view, the price point is there, the warranty is there, and overall, I think it's probably going to turn out to be a durable optic for what people like me and you are going to use it for. Now this is really marketed towards kind of duty law enforcement use, and I would like to see it kind of make a mark there. I know where I work, we're bringing in some Vortex optics, and we're probably going to be looking at a couple of these too for that designated marksman program. And that's becoming more and more popular everywhere, along with these variable power optics, which is really why I wanted to get into one and start playing with them a little bit. We are definitely going to revisit this one several hundred more rounds from now just to see how it's doing, and then of course get it out on a longer range and do some distance. If you guys are interested in anything you saw here today, go ahead and check those links down below. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel, turn the bell notification icons on, and give this video that big thumbs up, because it really does help the channel. If you're looking at supporting me in any way, you can check any of those links down below, or you can go to that TriStar page and we can take this channel to the next level together. You guys get out there, play with the little optic if you've got one, borrow one from a buddy if you don't own one. I will see you guys on the next one.